With Elon Musk now confirming they're going to go all out to make Robotaxi work, what might be the value to Tesla owners, the value to Tesla investors, and the value to society in general? James Dama, a well-known machine learning expert in the Tesla community, recently estimated that for each of these, there will be a 5 times in value. Elon himself responded saying that that estimate is about right. So today, we'll also review a complete list of all the things Tesla would need to have ready in order to make a Robotaxi network. I've got Larry Goldberg joining us. Larry's a multi-entrepreneur, and he's traveling the world right now, but thank you for joining me for this show. Thanks, Larry.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
So the reason I like to ask you these questions is that when you look at a certain product, business model, you do deep dives. You did one for energy, you did one for superchargers, and you've been thinking about the Robotaxi. So when he says, we need to go balls to the wall for autonomy, it's not just the FSD. It needs to be all sorts of other things. We'll walk through each of those and get your thoughts on it. But before we do that, let's take a look at this post that James Dama made, and Elon actually responded to this. So James Dama said that, Robotaxi Teslas will drive 5 times the miles of personal cars, right? So Elon has said that a few times. This is going to be 5 times displaced ICE miles. This is going to be good for the environment, but it's going to be more than 5 times value to users. It's going to be great to customers, and it's going to be even more than 5 times profit to investors. It's going to be great for that. So environment, customers, and investors are perfectly aligned here. Tesla can keep making personal cars, but every effort should be made to accelerate the introduction of and maximize the deployment numbers and usage of Robotaxi vehicles. And Elon said, this is about right. So his analysis about more than 5 times for each of these, he thinks it's right. What's your thoughts on that, Larry?
Well, when you talk about James Dama and Elon, you're talking about 2 people who are probably considerably above my fighting weight in terms of judgment on technical issues and definitely judgment on business issues. James has proved remarkably prescient. He has an incredible intellect. And of course, Elon has, his track record behind him. And I agree with everything they've said. What you're going to hear from me thematically is that the Robotaxi business is going to take time to spool up. It's not going to hit the ground running everywhere at the same time and automatically generate the billions of dollars that we know it's possible to do. And there's a significant infrastructure. There's a significant there are significant decisions to make about business model and how to do that. Now, Elon has proven to be amazingly prescient when it comes to the type of business model that will succeed in a given for a given business. I mean, what he constructed for the Tesla vehicle in terms of the vehicle, selling vehicles is just amazing. So I expect the same will be true of what he achieves in the Robotaxi world. It's just not going to happen overnight, and so I think those people who are lobbying for the next generation vehicle to be produced at the same time as the Robotaxi rolls out, I think this is the angst that they feel, that the Robotaxi, for those that believe the Robotaxi is around the corner, even for them, they have to admit that there has to be, a buildup of that business, and that business model will take time to evolve. And so that's the anxiety they feel.
So even though you've seen Elon say that we're going to go balls to the walls on autonomy, we're going to make this thing work, we're going to really focus hard on this, you still thinking that it's going to take a lot longer. And I've done shows now where we looked at different options of what can happen to replace, a lost compact car revenue that can, if that doesn't happen in 2026, 27, 28, there's a lot of things that Tesla can do that can still increase sales of current cars, increase margins, those kind of things. But yeah, so even though he said that we're going to really make this happen, whenever he's done this, it's made things happen.
Yeah, but we're functionally at the very top of the TAM for both models, all 4 models, or 5 models now, that we have. Cybertruck's got a way to go, but Cybertruck, not going to be hundreds of thousands of vehicles. If they hit 200,000 vehicles a year, that would be significant. I think they've got a big market potential, but we're still talking about low growth, an auto company growth level if you stick to the current models that you've got. And so I think it's a mistake to stick to the current models you've got, because even in a robotaxi world, there will be a significant market for the current models of cars that they've got, but also for the small car. And again, I have to stress that it's going to take time. Everybody thinks you throw a switch and then everybody's driving a robotaxi.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen like that.
I agree with you. It's going to take time. But what I've been saying is that as you head towards this, the sales of Model 3, Model Y could actually grow much more than people are expecting, because now they know that it's heading towards the ability to be used as a robotaxi. There's no other car out there you can buy. You better buy those. So yes, it's hit its TAM, but it can actually be higher TAM than people are thinking, because these are going to be robotaxi ready. So as long as they're able to prove, they don't have to wait until you've launched a program, launched a system, and then you can probably people will start realizing it's going to happen sooner before it's actually launched. Yeah, we'll see.
You believe that the average car buyer is really interested in renting out that car as a robotaxi?
They don't have to. They just, if they know this is something, then the value of their car, even if it's used, is already gone 5x. Even if they don't decide to use it as a robotaxi, they can resell it and have higher value.
That is very, very, very few, if any, consumers of vehicles are going to think in those terms. Very few.
Okay.
Certainly at the beginning. Now, ultimately, it will become clear to them, and they will see it, and they will understand.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's one option.
But you're talking about a process that depends upon the commercial success of the robotaxi to become manifest. And then, the average guy in the street realizes, oh my God, look what I've been missing. You have to look at, if you look at the take-up of the iPhone, think about the iPhone, one of the most successful, products in recent times. The first year sales were terrible. Mm-hmm. Even the second year sales, not that great.
No vision. Yep. Yeah, so you're saying that, they're crossing the chasm. Now you need mass uptake, and they don't do it. Those guys don't do it unless, it's already been proven, everything's there. Okay, let's continue talking, and there's going to be a lot to break down on what will need to happen for robotaxi to actually happen. So you got Alex Voigt saying that the value that robotaxis will create for consumers in Tesla is not understood, because Tesla will be the first of its kind. No one has delivered robotaxis on all roads and regions for low costs, and no one can do that but Tesla. Okay. It says, imagine though, if Tesla only produces 100,000 robotaxis in the first year. Because the unbox process allows for a faster ramp and shorter production time, that's why he's saying it's 100,000 that first year versus, let's say, Cybertruck, which is, lucky if we had 70,000. That's a profit as if 500,000 Model 3s or Ys had been delivered. It's back to that comment earlier that a robotaxi is like 5 times the value of a normal car. So all of a sudden, that first year, it's almost like as if you produced 500,000 a normal vehicle. He says, once Tesla produced just 500,000 robotaxis, the profit and value to investors is as if Tesla has already delivered 2.5 million Model Ys or 3s in a year. That's, more than what we're making right now per year. Tesla is accelerating its mission to sustainable transportation by 5x. So you're right, it might take a lot longer than people think. Year delayed. But when it happens, it's like as if you're 5xing the company. Elon actually liked this tweet, this post. And so that's why I brought it up. Yeah. Thoughts on that?
Right. So I respect Alex immensely, and I think he's right, but his timing is wrong. The first year 100,000 robotaxis are built, they're probably going to show a loss as robotaxis, because setting up that infrastructure to support robotaxis, managing that infrastructure and implementing them and selling them in the marketplace is going to be time consuming. It's going to take time for that utilization to reach, break even and then beyond. So everything that is being said and has been said, I'm aligned with. I just think there is a between 1 year and 3 year transition. And that transition is going to be very painful unless Tesla also introduces, the next generation vehicle that people can buy and actually drive. So that's we can agree to disagree, but neither of us can know. It's unknowable who's right.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to now go through the list of all the things that you would have to have in place for Robotaxi network to be. And there's a lot. And so for that reason, right, it's more likely, because if it's one thing to talk about a new vehicle on a whole new way to produce the car, almost changing the entire, revolutionizing the factory itself. That's step one. That alone should be already a lot longer. On the other hand, this is not just a vehicle. This is a whole program. So let's go through that list and see your opinion on that. This is a limiting factor, Jordan Kisigi, and he wrote this up. He said, buckle up. I don't think people truly appreciate what the next 18 months, he's using 18 months, are going to be like if Elon is going balls to the walls on Robotaxi. If they plan on making a vehicle that has no pedals or steering wheel and no option for a human driver, here's what you would need to have. First, you need to have more data centers. You have to have these data centers in place to crunch the billions of miles of data into a functioning full self-driving system. So even though we have version 12.3.4 now, I did a fantastic show with Brian Wang, who showed that we're probably at 400 exaflops today, not just 100 exaflops based on his, he pieced together all the posts and information and nuggets that's out there. But even then, you need more data centers. What's your thoughts on this?
He's right. I mean, the rate at which we are seeing evolution of version 12 is pretty rapid, but the pace is going to have to step up quite dramatically. We've got a lot that we still have to resolve and solve, but if you look at the curve that Tesla gave us of rollout, and Brian has shown us that actually they're rolling out far faster than they've disclosed. We've got a way to go. We're just at the beginning of that S curve, and we've got to climb that really rapid rate. We're just hitting that the elbow of that S curve now. So there's a lot of build out to be done. So he's right, and that build out is what we're going to need in terms of training capacity.
Yeah. Now they did announce that Elon approved a new data center in Buffalo, New Jersey. So at least that's happening. But okay, so first step, you need more data centers to crunch the billions of miles in order to really complete that to that final bit of solving autonomy. The next bit here, he says, number 2, they'll need to build a line, right? Of course, it's not a line, but it's an unboxed model production method for Robotaxi, which will be a ridiculously complex challenge, probably as difficult as the jump that occurred between the Model S and the Model 3. Maybe even, you can argue this both ways. Some people think, like I just said, it's a brand new way to do this. They're having to recreate a whole new factory, the way that they're designing it. The other side, the reason why they're doing the unboxed models, they feel that it's going to be they're doing this because it's going to simplify the way things are. Lots of new technology though, but the good news is that Cybertruck already has quite a number of those new technologies. So this is the next thing that's going to take a lot longer.
Yeah, right? I think this is the piece that Tesla may be further advanced than Jordan appears to recognize. I think the line is being built out as we speak. I think that by 8.8 we may even see some exposure to that line. We may get some exposure to that line. I think the line does borrow very heavily, or is based very heavily upon some of the stuff they're doing on the Cybertruck. I mean, I've seen rumors that this vehicle is going to have many of the techniques of building of the Cybertruck, and I've no doubt about it at all. I'm thinking that we are going to see braking by wire in addition to steering by wire. From my perspective and my experience with the Cybertruck, couldn't be better than doing that. So I think in this area, I think Tesla may be further ahead than Jordan seems to indicate they are.
Yeah. Okay. The next big one, of course, is the one that everybody's been talking about, which is regulatory approval needs to be deployed to these vehicles en masse as soon as they start rolling off the line. Again, this one, it's okay. When people talk about regulation, it sounds so obvious. Oh no, they're going to need to get regulation. It's going to take decades for that because don't you know how government moves slow? And then when you step back and look at the reality, there are already quite a number of cities that have approved Robotaxi testing and operation, right? So you can start in those cities, just like Waymo and Cruise and others have done. Two, it's actually the default is actually for over 32 plus 30 states. It's actually the default. You can do this. It's only the 10 states that have implemented, in the program and changed the laws and says you must get them too. But it's almost like the taxi scenario where they put laws in, but that's because they want to encourage it and they want to actually promote it. But anyways, I'm not going to downplay regulatory. It's probably the thing that's going to be the rate limiting step, but it's not as dire as some people think. What's your opinion?
It's not as dire as people think, but it's not as simple as you make out. Yeah. He has the skinny on that. If you take the 5 cities that have specific regulatory structures for autonomous driving, you'll find that each one of them require a period of time of testing. And some of that testing can be 3 months, some of it as long as a year. But that testing period has to be gone through, and very seldom do they get from A to B in the prescribed time. It takes longer because there's always some retesting to be done. The regulators have to be sure, and therefore they require, the worst interpretation of a particular event possible, and they make you retry and retry. The cities that are supposedly, or the states where supposedly there is no regulation, there will be regulation. There will be a hodgepodge, but you can't just advertise and run a robotaxi business. There are very few localities that are going to allow you to do that. Every locality is going to awake to the potential risk and the potential liability and also the potential income. And there's going to be, services that are already in place, like Uber, like Lyft, that are going to raise Cain. So I don't think the worst possible outcome that some of the people are talking about in terms of regulation, but I certainly don't see a slam dunk. It's going to take a lot of organization and conversation. I wish Rohan Patel had not left the company because he's an expert at this kind of stuff. But Tesla are going to have to work very hard at it.
Yeah. But going back to that original tweets out there, like, James Dalman did a really nice analysis of Uber driving, the stats and the information that they do in Chicago. He took down all the data, and he said that it would only take 100,000 cars in Chicago to do a robotaxi network there. So as we just said earlier, 100,000 cars, that's first year, second year. Third year, fourth year, they go to 500,000 cars, 5 cities. Right. So it's not like it may not actually become regulatory, may not actually become the rate limiting step. It could actually just perfectly fine. They get 1 city say yes, then you get 5 cities say yes in 3 years. And then at that point, if you have the data, it can go much faster if it truly is proven and it's already working well. Okay. So I agree. Regulation is an issue, but it's not, I don't think it's going to be the rate limiting step per se. Hopefully hopefully I'm not wrong. But okay, so the app has to be working well. Clearly, right? This is something that's it's not
I
to be
think
it's not trivial.
I don't think it's trivial, but I think Tesla has that
Yeah,
under
except
control.
that yeah, Uber, of course, it's not just an app. That's the whole thing, right? And Uber is data driven. They've got this whole network. You have to be tracking everything. The good news, like you say, is Tesla. It's not like they're coming from behind. It's not like it's not their DNA. They know do this, but
One thing that Uber does extremely well, that Tesla does extremely poorly, is customer service. If you have a bad ride with Uber, you just text them in the app and they refund you instantly. I mean, there's none of this backwards and forwards and how does this work and who do I speak to and how do I get hold of somebody? None of that happens. When you send a text, it is actioned instantly. Tesla haven't got a great track record in that. I hope they fix that for this because it's going to be critical. And, in the first year, there's going to be enormous number of problems, the cases that, we haven't thought about, and that we can't think about, and that are going to occur. And without that level of support, it's not. And that's the area that Tesla actually has a deficit.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm saying, it's not just an app. It's actually knowing how many cars need to be in certain locations at certain time frames. All of that took years for Uber to know. I don't even know how Tesla would know that at the beginning. They can download the Uber information, but you know what I mean? Like they need to build that out as well.
One of the problems of these kinds of networks is that unless they're a network, they don't work. And to be a network, they need a certain density of vehicles available at a certain time. And in order to get a density of vehicles available at a certain time, they need a level of customers. So you have this, chicken and egg situation, or, in every locality that you go to. And that's one of the reasons why ARK Invest thought there's not going to be one winner takes all. They're going to be, many different winners in different areas. So I think, that's why, we can write spreadsheets that show us going up and to the right all day. But when you actually get to the practical implementation of this on a locality by locality basis, it's very challenging from multiple perspectives, and it's not going to happen that easily and that, automatically.
Okay, the next part that Jordan's saying is that, of course, you need the app. Now you need a whole network in place for the care and feeding of these robotaxis. So Elon has said a few times that he's going to need to have companies out there, entities out there that's going to be shepherds, right, to care and feed these robotaxis, clean them,
charge them,
wash them, track them like a shepherd would. And take care of them. And so whether or not Elon said that they didn't want to do this, right? He was thinking in his head at that point. This was several years ago though. But yes, so what would you need if you did this? As opposed to Uber, who the owners themselves owned the cars, and so they would take care of their own car. They got that taken care of. But for Robotaxi, there's no owner. Somebody has to, manage a group. How do you see this rolling out?
I love the idea of Uber and Tesla getting together and doing this together. I love that idea. I see Tesla as, providing the vehicle, earning the revenue, Uber providing the service, the shepherding service. Its owners can, instead of owning the car and having to drive it, they can just be the shepherds. They need far fewer of them, but they need the best of them as shepherds, and then they can manage it. The app already exists. They can rebrand the app if they wish. So I just thought that this was a win-win-win. And, I love Pierre Ferragu's idea that Tesla just be the owner of the cars, but not the operators of the cars, be the owner of the network, but not the operator of the network. And I think Elon is of similar mind. So I think it's a marriage made in heaven, Uber and Tesla. and I think there's enough in it for both of them to prosper. So that would be my druthers. But and I've always run my business in that way. I seek cooperation rather than competition, in the competition way, as being a very successful model. And I don't see any reason why Tesla shouldn't do that in this case.
Yeah. And they've partnered with Hertz, right? The big Hertz announcement, buying a bunch of Teslas. Hertz is basically shepherding these cars. And I think that Hertz makes more sense. They partner
with Uber right now. They partner with Uber.
They do. Yeah. They have a partnership with Uber where they give special discounts for the owners to buy the Teslas. I'm not in favor of the Uber partnerships per se. I think that it's more of the Hertz partnership that makes more difference. Uber has the clients, but I wouldn't want to use their app. The whole point is use the Tesla app. And then
I didn't say use the app exclusively. I would say you could integrate the Uber functionality into a Tesla app and manage it accordingly. But
I see.
Look,
so it's Tesla Insight.
Let's see what Elon decides, because I know he's going to come up with a unique and beautiful product.
He has said, and I just watched a video recently, what he said before was you would use the same Tesla app. We would just add a tab to it. You can hail a car. It'll be built into the Tesla app. He said that at the time. But yeah, they could take that and add that to any apps. Yeah.
I'm thinking exactly the same thing. It doesn't have to be the Uber app, but it could be the Uber functionality within the Tesla app.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that Tesla does need the data. It does need not just the driving data, but it needs the mapping data as well. So
mapping data. Yep. The customers, who are they? Where are they setting up? That part I agree with. Okay. So then, Jordan ends it this way. If they want robotaxis coming off the line in a little over a year, all of these things have to be in place. If you guys know of any other thing that we haven't talked about, there's probably at least 2 or 3 more things we haven't discussed that needs to be in place in order for robotaxi. Please leave a comment on that. If the robotaxis come off the line and they aren't in place, a big stockpile of vehicles are going to build up, or they're going to have to idle the production line. So once they decide to do this, they have to have everything in place. I don't think this is a bet the company moment, as Elon said, but it's going to be the most, if not one of the most craziest time in the company's history. Final thoughts on this?
Yeah, if they don't do the Model 2 or the next gen at the same time, I think it's akin to betting the company. I think that it is such an enormous strain on the company's cash flow. Now, this is why I so strongly recommended they go out and raise money. That moment may have passed, may not have passed, but I would love to have seen a $50 billion raise last year. I would love to have seen it. And that $50 billion raise would have put $80 billion in the bank. They would have been untouchable. And all of these concerns would be passed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and there may still be an opportunity for that, but there's a lot to do. And, I was thinking after our conversation about the shepherds are not necessarily the solution, because one shepherd could be a very good shepherd, another shepherd could be a very poor shepherd. So you need that control, that quality. So there are a lot of issues to think through. I don't think we've begun to scratch the surface of it.
So, that's a very good point. He has said this is not bet the company situation, but we're going to go balls to the walls on this. And so that means, just that alone, he's got a plan B. The compact car is not dead. It's the same unboxed model platform.
Exactly.
And so it's not like, it goes back to the original part of the conversation where he said, look, Robotaxi is likely going to take a lot longer than you think, but it's not like Elon is sitting there going, okay, we'll just do 4 years of no revenue with declining sales. No, that's not the case. He's got a plan B. Okay. Thank you so much, Larry. Follow him on X, Tesla Larry. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.